What'd you get?
Dates.
Oh. I need to go home and get me some water.
Yeah.
Well, Biddy and Bo's was packed.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yep. Guess what I got here?
Road noise.
Yep.
Presidents see
shit.
a political advantage to taking executive action, regardless of whether it's actually carried out.
2 weeks into the Trump presidency, we try to sort out which moves are a power grab and which are politics as usual. For Sunday, February 2nd, it's All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Scott Detrow. As Secretary of State Marco Rubio visits Panama, we meet the group behind a popular website there that mocks the news.
We are there, so you don't have to be there in the dumpster of information that is Panama.
And okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties because it's cold out there. If you get the movie reference, you know today is Groundhog Day. We head to Punxsutawney to ponder the holiday's greater meaning.
You don't have to cook anything. You don't have to buy anybody gifts. You wake up, the rat comes out of the hole, poof, it's done.
Those stories and much more after this newscast.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. Business groups are pushing back against President Trump's plan to impose stiff new tariffs on imports from Mexico, Canada, and China. NPR's Scott Horsley reports those import taxes are set to take effect Tuesday.
President Trump says he's ordering the tariffs in an effort to curb the flow of illegal drugs and immigration. But the U.S. Chamber of Commerce says while Trump is right to focus on those problems, tariffs are not the answer. The chamber says taxing imports will only upend supply chains and raise prices for American families. Trump has ordered a 25% tax on most goods coming from Mexico and Canada, but he called for a smaller 10% tax on Canadian crude oil in an apparent effort to limit any spike in gasoline prices. The tariff on Chinese imports is also set at 10%. All the taxes are set to take effect on Tuesday, leaving a short window for a possible reprieve. Canada and Mexico have promised to respond to tariffs with taxes of their own on U.S. exports. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
The National Science Foundation says it's going to start paying researchers again after a freeze of about a week. NPR's Jonathan Lambert has more.
On Sunday at noon Eastern, the NSF said that the agency will resume distributing funds to scientists who had received grants. They have been unable to access their funds since Tuesday when the agency froze payments as they reviewed how their grants complied with new executive orders, especially those targeting diversity, equity, and inclusion. The freeze left hundreds of people unable to access money allocated for their salary and their research. On Friday, a court issued a temporary restraining order that required the NSF and other agencies that froze funds to resume payment. On Sunday, the NSF complied with that order. While it is still reviewing existing grants for compliance with Trump's executive orders, NSF clarified that it cannot stop payments because of this review. Jonathan Lambert, NPR News.
Syria's interim president is visiting Saudi Arabia looking for help to rebuild a country ravaged by more than a decade of war. It's his first foreign trip since becoming the country's new leader. NPR's Greg Myrie reports.
Interim President Ahmed al-Shara flew to Saudi Arabia, a country that could provide the financial assistance that Syria desperately needs. The new Syrian leader has hosted several foreign delegations here in Damascus, but he has not previously traveled abroad since leading the rebel group that toppled the country's longtime ruler, Bashar al-Assad, back in December. Shara is trying to win support from Arab and Western governments. Many isolated Syria while Assad was in power. The new Syrian government government says the sanctions imposed on the Assad regime should now be lifted. The war and those sanctions have impoverished the vast majority of Syrians. Greg Myrie, NPR News, Damascus.
And you're listening to NPR News from Washington. After the terrorist attack on New Year's Day in New Orleans, extra security measures are in place for the upcoming Super Bowl and the French Quarter. Brooke Thorrington of member station WRFK has more.
The Department of Homeland Security had upgraded its security assessment of the Super Bowl following the truck attack on Bourbon Street that killed 14 people and left dozens injured. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry says beginning February 5th, security checkpoints will be set up for the French Quarter and the area surrounding the Superdome. Coolers and ice chests will be prohibited, and any bag or container larger than 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches will be searched.
If an officer at the enhanced security checkpoint in the quarter asks to search your bag, you're free to refuse it, but you are not free to enter.
Only emergency vehicles will be allowed in the two zones. For NPR News, I'm Brooke Thorrington.
At the weekend box office, DreamWorks Animation's Dog Man took the top spot with an estimated $36 million in ticket sales. That makes it the biggest debut so far this year. The big screen launch for the cartoon Canine was produced for a modest $40 million, which means it will easily coast through a profitable run. Only one animated film before has had a better January launch, and that was 2016's Kung Fu Panda 3. In second place, the horror comedy Companion, with an estimated $9 million in ticket sales. I'm Janine Herbst, and you're listening to NPR News from Washington.
I had fun, Daddy.
Thank you, son. I had fun too. And I had the thing that I liked the most.
Yep. Guess where you enjoyed sitting?
Outside.
It was pretty, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Hold on.
That was a big old hamburger.
Yeah, it was.
It was good too, but you can't beat the quesadilla when you go there.
Hmm?
I said it was good too, but you can't beat the quesadilla when you go there.
Nope.
What you making, Mommy? Pot roast.